Hey, what's going on, Z Nation? Zaid here, ZSPN. And today, guys, we're going to be talking about the Los Angeles Lakers and the NBA draft of 2021. That's right, guys. It's about that time of year again when it comes to the Los Angeles Lakers and the NBA draft. And I want to give you guys my thoughts and my opinions about the top prospects that could potentially land with the Los Angeles Lakers with the 22nd overall pick in the NBA draft of 2021. But before anything, like always, please be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share my videos all over Facebook, Twitter, all the good social media stuff. And of course, guys, make sure to like all of my social media sites, ZSPN on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the links to my social media sites in the description of this video so you guys can check out my social media sites. And of course, subscribe to the channel. And also, guys, I have a podcast now, ZSPN. It is on Anchor, Radio Public, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. So if you haven't yet, please support my podcast, ZSPN. It's basically the same content that I do on YouTube, only you can listen to me on podcasts now. So I just really do appreciate you just show me the love and support for my podcasts and, of course, this channel, ZSPN on YouTube. So guys, let's just get into it. Let's talk about the Lakers and the NBA draft of 2021. Now, before I get into my picks and my preferred picks when it comes to the Lakers selection with the 22nd overall pick, let me be very clear before I get into it. There is some still speculations when it comes to the Lakers and the 22nd overall pick when it comes to trading it, okay? It's still out there, and by the time I probably upload this video, maybe a couple of weeks go by and there's some sort of package, a trade package could potentially happen from the Lakers, putting the 22nd overall pick for, in a trade package with Kyle Kuzma or, some other type of assets be part of a trade package for a particular player that the Lakers have their eye on. But, still remains to be seen about that, who it is and if they will potentially do it, because, there's still that notion that's still out there that the Lakers are, I guess, number one priority in the offseason is to find trades. And, if some team wants the 22nd overall pick, I think it's a good chance that the Lakers will potentially do so if somehow a trade is out there that could be beneficial for the team, moving forward. So I'm just going to say this in advance. You never know. The Lakers may trade the 22nd overall pick, but if they do decide to keep it, there's some good assets when it comes to the Lakers keeping that 22nd overall pick, because they could potentially be a huge help for the Lakers when it comes to building around a team around, somehow maybe around THT once if the Lakers do decide to re-sign him in the offseason, or possibly pair him up with Alex Caruso. And, this potential players or, that the Lakers, whoever they will select in the 22nd overall pick in this year's draft could be a beneficial type of player for many years to come, as that young, talented player that the Lakers could build around and could potentially, give some sort of, it could be an asset maybe down the line. So, there's no good way to say this. The Lakers, at any given moment, they could use that pick to their benefit when it comes to, building around LeBron and Anthony Davis as that reliable young player that can learn from LeBron or Anthony Davis or, something like that. So with that being said, I have some, lists here when it comes to the Lakers selecting a player that could potentially land with the Los Angeles Lakers with the 22nd overall pick. And, I looked at some mock drafts as well, and, some of these players I'm going to mention are around those ranges, around the 20th, around the 21st, 22nd overall as where the Lakers are. That could be, a realistic type of landing spot for these particular players. And some of these players I'm going to mention, guys, are going to be beneficial for the Lakers' needs when it comes to looking for a type of player that will be a reliable player that can play very well on the Lakers and also with LeBron and Anthony Davis. And, sort of depends on how many years LeBron has left in his career with the Los Angeles Lakers, but you never know. He could play for 5 years. You never know. So, and these particular players are, that I'm going to select most of them are shooting guards, and then some of them are, I believe one of them is like a point guard, and I think there's one that's like maybe a combo type of position type of player, which is a good beneficial for a player who is could be a basic need for the Lakers, in any sort of situation that he is needed. And when it comes to this, guys, I wanted to hear your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section down below, and give me your thoughts about my selections. And these are my personal opinions. I mean, these are the type of players that are beneficial and could be a reliable type of player that is the basic need for the Lakers and could, grow and be a huge help for the Lakers when it comes to their talent that they bring to the table. And I'm going to get started with it. I mean, the first one I have on my list, guys, is Cam Thomas. Okay, Cam Thomas, he's a shooting guard out of LSU. He's a freshman, 6'3". And, guys, when it comes to his abilities, he's a scorer. Okay, this guy is a scoring machine, can give you 23. I believe he averaged in his freshman year in LSU around 23 points a game. So this guy was a scoring machine, and I think this is the type of guy that the Lakers could rely upon when it comes to a guy coming off the bench, being more of a sixth man, if you will. Now, he could work his way up being a shooting guard, possibly being in the starting lineup as a reliable type of player that can help LeBron at times at the shooting guard position, being the scorer that he is. He's also a shooter. So, where's that come into place is his scoring and also shooting. So I think it's a good, reliable type of trait that he brings to the table. And I think, Cam Thomas, I have to say he is right up there. There has been maybe like 2 sites that I've seen where, he was ranked the 22nd overall pick and, where the Lakers land. And I think I saw maybe 2 or 3 websites that shown that Cam Thomas could land with the Lakers with the 22nd overall pick. Now, this is probably too early to tell because, it's just, couple weeks to go when it comes to the NBA draft. I believe the draft is around July 29th. So by the time I upload this video, I believe it's the 11th or 12th. So yeah, it's probably 2 weeks away when the draft will begin for the Los Angeles Lakers, and who will they potentially select? That's if, as I mentioned in the beginning, they trade the picks. So by the time that happens, so Cam Thomas, he is somebody that I think the Lakers could potentially select with the 22nd overall pick, but still remains to be seen about that. A second player in mind, guys, that he is. He was ranked between the Lakers around the 22nd, the 20th. I mean, he is real close when it comes to this particular selection. I believe he worked out with the Lakers today. So, and this player, Trey Murphy III, he is something special. Okay, he is another guy who is, a combo position type of player. He's a small forward. He can also play the shooting guard position. So the capabilities of him playing multiple positions does play a huge role when it comes to the NBA, and especially for a guy like him who has that particular trait. He is from Virginia, and he's 6'9". He's a junior, and his wingspan is 7. 7'0". So the guy's wingspan when it comes to his shooting is sensational. Okay, he is a good shooter. He has that trait that brings a lot of attention when it comes to the Lakers and their needs at the shooting position. Okay, the Lakers they sucked when it came to that particular, problem that they were dealing with when it comes to shooters. And, Cam Thomas, he brings that also, but, you have to look at Trey Murphy III because he brings that shooting ability to the table when it's all said and done. I mean, he is just one of those type of players in this year's draft that brings that to the table for any sort of team that's looking for shooting, and one of them is the Los Angeles Lakers. So I think Trey Murphy III could be in that particular position when it comes to that particular selection. And the best thing I have to say, is his shooting. So I think that Lakers, if they are looking for a shooter, they should also look at Trey Murphy III. I mentioned Cam Thomas. I mean, Thomas, he's one of those similar guys. I mean, he's a scoring machine, but at the same time, he can shoot as well. So when it was all said and done, I mean, the draft, the Lakers have to look for shooters. And I think the shooting guard is their best option. And I think, looking for a shooter of those two particular players is in that range for that particular selection with the 22nd overall pick. So I think that's a good selection for the Los Angeles Lakers to look at. I mean, he is, in my top 1, top 2 selection, in that list of particular selections if the Lakers will go that route. So Trey Murphy, I won't be disappointed in that. I mean, I think the Lakers should consider him as that particular selection prospect in that selection in the 22nd overall pick in this year's draft of 2021. The third player, I have to say, guys, is Jayden Springer. Jayden Springer, he is a shooting guard from Tennessee, freshman, 6'4". His abilities, guys, I have to say, is a bit similar to, when it comes to, if I had to, give him a quick comparison of a current player that's in the NBA who, I have to say, guys, he's a former Laker, and I believe all Laker fans, when it's all said and done, really were saddened when it came to the Lakers, trade him away to get Anthony Davis. And I think we all know where I'm going with this. It is Josh Hart. Josh Hart. Okay, Josh Hart. He is that similar type of player that Jayden Springer brings to the table. Okay, he has that shooting ability, but at the same time, the best trait that he brings to the table is his defense. And I believe Frank Vogel will love to have a player like Jayden Springer when it's all said and done when it comes to his defensive side of the ball. And, he can work on his shooting. He can work on his ability to, with his speed and everything like that. But, if the Lakers are looking for a Josh Hart type of player in this year's draft, I believe Jayden Springer is that particular player that the Lakers could look at when it comes to that particular position. And, he doesn't bring, scoring ability. And, as I mentioned, he needs to work on his shooting. But when it's all said and done, his defense is well respected when it comes to analysts, analyzing his game when he was in Tennessee as a freshman. So I believe that particular selection is good for the Lakers when it's all said and done. The other player that I have to bring up, guys, he does make the argument for the Lakers to select him, and I won't honestly be disappointed if the Lakers pick this particular player because he just has a lot of traits in him that can really be a huge help for the Lakers when it comes to bringing a high-level energy three-pointing, being a three-point shooter, shooting 43% in his time as a freshman. I believe the college he went to is VCU. I don't know the name specifically, but as I was looking in those particular mock drafts, this particular player also worked out with the Lakers today. So, and He's a point guard. He's 6'3". His name is Nahshon Highland. So, but his nickname is Bones. So, Bones brings that particular trait that the Lakers, if they select him, I will not be disappointed in this particular selection whatsoever. He is a point guard. So, if the Lakers are potentially looking for a point guard that is, if I had to give him a comparison, I can't really think of one. I mean, his ability to shoot the three, 43% as a sophomore, brings a lot of ability to the table. He has a 6'9" wingspan, so his ability, may be a bit differ when it comes to his length of shooting, but I believe that could be improved upon if for a couple of years in the NBA as that developing player. But he is a sophomore, so he has some experience under his belt, and the rest of the players I mentioned, other than Trey Murphy, who is a junior, none of them don't really have a lot of experience as an NBA ready type of player. But Trey Murphy III and Bones is one of those type of guys that the Lakers could consider when it comes to experience wise, and his ability as that high level 3-point shooter does play a huge role of the Lakers if they are going to consider a guy like him with the 22nd overall pick. He did work out with the Lakers, and I believe he was one of those players that mentioned that the Lakers in the workouts really worked him very hard. And the Lakers have a history when it comes to working players very hard when it comes to their abilities to show if they are NBA ready or if they are the type of players that the Lakers will select. So the Lakers have a good history of that when it comes to working out players in the combine. So Bones, he's just one of those type of players that I think in those 4 rankings that's ranked around the 20th and the 22nd overall, 23 if you really think about it, because those particular players that I mentioned is ranked between those two, and between the range of the Lakers selection around the 20th, 22nd overall picks. So those are my personal opinions when it comes to that sort of notion and that those particular players. Now, there are some players that I think it's a long shot if the Lakers, if he lands with the Lakers, and I think if the Lakers, if this particular player lands with the Lakers, I think they should select him because of how good of a player that he is known for. And this player in particular is Chris Duarte. Okay, this guy is one of those type of players that you should not pass on. I mean, I mentioned these 4 particular players that the Lakers realistically could. These are the particular players that will land with the Lakers. But when it comes to Chris Duarte, he is a shooting guard from Oregon. He's 6'6". He's a senior, so he has experience up there. I mean, he will be 24 years old when it comes to the new NBA season in October. So, his ability and his experience does play a huge role when it comes to being NBA ready. And, he's a 3-and-D wing. So he brings that similarity type of high level, defensive ability to the table when it's all said and done. And, he's a 3-pointer. I mean, he is well known for being this is like a big plus when it comes to his ability of being a good 3-point shooter. I mean, he is really good when it comes to the perimeter, and when it comes to him running the floor, his ability to do that has great energy, and a guy like him to be a huge fit to the Lakers plays a huge role of his ability when it comes to being a 3-and-D type of player. And he's a long shot because he is the type of guy that some teams that are ahead of the Lakers would just not they will select this guy because of his ability that he brings to the table. And if I had to give him a comparison, his comparison draws very close to Danny Green. And I saw like a lot of comments on Facebook when it comes to who should the Lakers pursue in the free agency market, and some people are saying we should bring back Danny Green. Well, if the Lakers do keep the 22nd overall pick, and if somehow Chris Duarte is still around for the selection, the Lakers should select him. I mean, he is a type of 3-and-D guy that the Lakers could look for when it comes to that defensive side of the ball, and at the same time bringing the shooting ability. Now, he's not a scorer, but when it's all said and done, at the perimeter, when he has the ball in his hand, he will deliver and shoot those threes very well. So, he is the type of guy that I think he is up there with the 22nd overall pick, because last time I checked, I saw a mock draft where the New York Knicks selected him with the 20th overall pick. So he's there. So he's like right there with the Lakers. But I think he's such a long shot that, some teams ahead of the Lakers will select him. That's why I mentioned some other players like Cam Thomas and, Trey Murphy III, Jayden Springer, and Bones is a realistic type of landing spot at the 22nd overall pick because of those traits that, as I mentioned, that is a huge help for the Lakers when it comes to, building a team around them. And there is another player in mind, but I think the Lakers will not select this particular player. I mean, I know some Laker fans would love to see the Lakers select him, but I saw like a mock draft comment saying, or from some sort of analyst comment, that he has some health issues. So this is why he's so ranked so low. He's like ranked around the 30th overall, so he's like the last pick in the first round. So, and this guy is like, Jared Butler. He's a shooting guard from Butler, and he's 6'3". So I didn't do my research when it came to his ability, what he brings to the table, but I've seen some Laker fans raved about him. But for some reason, when I read the comment of him having health issues, it kind of put me some sort of pause, because this is just recent, and you never know what the experts are saying when it comes to his ability, what he brings to the table. And there's a reason why maybe he was ranked so low. I mean, he's like my sleeper, but it's just kind of so hard to tell about what the Lakers' intentions are when it comes to selecting a guy like him who has some issues like that. So I won't be surprised. I mean, I will be shocked if they do select him, but I won't be surprised if they do so. So guys, that's my selections. I mean, if you guys have any thoughts and opinions, I mean, these particular players, guys, it brings a lot of promise when it comes to this particular selection with the 22nd overall pick. I mean, any of these players, as I mentioned, if the Lakers do select these particular players, I think it will play huge wonders of the Lakers' development and, just building a team around LeBron and Anthony Davis. And also when it comes to the second unit with Alex Caruso and THT and, these particular players, as I mentioned, Cam Thomas, Trey Murphy III, Jayden Springer, Bones, and, Chris Duarte. I mean, those particular players, I think the Lakers should consider at the end of the day and at that particular selection. But, still remains to be seen, as I mentioned. The Lakers would do anything to, when it comes to, making us, making surprises when it comes to any sort of trades that will happen. And, it really looks like if a trade does happen, the 22nd overall pick could be involved in this particular trade package for a player like a Buddy Hield or Russell Westbrook, or any sort of player that a team is interested when it comes to, if you want this player, I want the 22nd overall pick type of scenario. So I won't be surprised, but if the Lakers do decide to keep it, as I mentioned, these particular players would fit on the Los Angeles Lakers as that building role, with LeBron and Anthony Davis, and with the young core of THT and Alex Caruso as that second unit. But we just have to see what will be in store for the Lakers in these next couple of weeks. As I mentioned, the draft is on July 29th. So, anything could happen on draft night that could, shock us all. But, hopefully the Lakers would, do their homework and see what will be the best for the team. And we just have to, look and see what's in store for the Lakers, moving forward into the next couple of weeks until the NBA draft. But if anything does happen, guys, I'll make sure I will let you guys know about everything that goes down when it comes to the Los Angeles Lakers and the off season. I really want to know your thoughts and your opinions about the Lakers prospects of this year's draft with the 22nd overall pick. Who do you think the Lakers should select? Should it be Cam Thomas? Could it be, Trey Murphy III, Jayden Springer, Bones? Or could it be Chris Duarte? Or could it be Jared Butler? I mean, if there's something out there that I don't know about, that if you guys think the Lakers should select, please comment down below. I really want to know your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, share my videos, and please give me your thoughts about it. Like all of my social media sites, ZSPN on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the links in the description. And also, guys, subscribe to the channel and also subscribe to the ZSPN podcast. And I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Go Lakers. Take it easy, guys. Stay safe out there.